Welcome back to Get Down to Business, the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. I've got a real treat in store for you. I'm thrilled to be joined by Dr. Deji Ayoade, who was the first African immigrant to become a nuclear missile operator in the United States Air Force and serve in you heard it right, 3 U.S. military branches. He is a trained veterinary surgeon, combat medic, nuclear weapons system SME, and the list goes on and on. In fact, he's doing some work as a United States Space Force Department of Defense civilian at the Pentagon. And he has turned his storytelling as solace from an early life of poverty and loss. His new book is Underground, a memoir of hope, faith, and the American dream. Deji, welcome to the program. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you very much for having me. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm fantastic. It's an honor to have you on. Thank you for your continued service and inspiring our listeners with, again, Underground, the memoir of hope, faith, and the American dream. You certainly have a lot to say about the American dream. So let's dive right in because we've got a segment over here. Why did you write Underground?
Well, I wrote Underground. It wasn't meant to be a book, but when I got married and had my daughter in 2010, I thought, I needed to keep a record, of how I got here. I was the first to come to the United States, and I wanted to have a record, how I came here, what I went through to build a life that I've been able to build for us, and hopefully be able to carry that information on to the next generation and the generation after that. So in 2013, when my son arrived, I decided, you know what, I'm going to start writing. I need to keep this record. And then while I was doing that, I remembered a lot more than I thought I would. And I got a little emotional and just kept pouring things out. And eventually, I showed it was just a long write-up, and I didn't have chapters and anything like that. My wife reviewed it and, she started crying after a couple pages in and said, I can't believe you went through all these. And you absolutely need to turn this into a book because this can change so many lives, And
I don't want to share all the secrets, Deji, because we're going to send people over to your book and, of course, to your website. But your wife is absolutely right. Your Underground, a memoir of hope, faith, and the American dream. Indeed, I love talking about the American dream, and you have lived it, my friend. You went from becoming a veterinary surgeon to becoming a U.S. sailor in the Navy, an airman in the Air Force, and guardian in the Space Force. I mean, as an Army guy myself, I'm only offended that you haven't spent more time in the ranks of Green. But I mean, how did you go through that journey, and why did you even join the military to start with?
For two reasons. I think number one reason was at that point, I think I had just written my board exams in the US to practice as a veterinary surgeon and as a veterinary doctor. And then I just knew something was missing. I felt like I needed to live a purposeful life. And I don't think practicing 100% full time, I was going to get that. So I started, looking for something that would just make me feel fulfilled. And I always liked the idea of being in the military, and I thought I could do more. I could touch more lives. I could reach more people. And so I did. But the second reason also at that time, I had my permanent residency after I got married. And, my mom and my siblings were still in Nigeria. And, one of the fastest ways to naturalize in the United States, you enlist in the military and then you naturalize. And then as a graduate, I could commission, right? As a commissioned officer. So I decided to go through that route, and I would say thanks to the military, because I remember when I was in a Navy boot camp, it was when I got naturalized, and coming out of boot camp, I was already eligible to file for my mom. And before you know that, she was able to file for my kid brother. So it was all encompassing. I thought it was just, I was just searching for happiness, and sense of fulfillment. And it took me where I needed to be.
Yeah, well, I love that you're telling this story, and hopefully it inspires folks, because you talk in the book about how your Nigerian upbringing instilled in you the power of community and faith, and how you overcame some of that prejudice. And now, of course, as you just said a moment ago, Deji, serving in 3 branches of the U.S. military and believing in the American dream, which is inspiring. So, Deji, we only have about a minute and a half remaining, and I just want to give you the last minute or so. What do you want to say to immigrants and maybe non-immigrants seeking that American dream? What is that underlying message in Underground?
Well, the underlying message for immigrants and non-immigrants alike is that irrespective of who you are or where you come from, if you envision something or you dream of something, it can happen. You feel ready to do the work it takes. You can turn that into reality. You can make your dreams come true, but you have to be willing to do the work. You will experience failures. Don't let them deter you. Learn from them, move forward, and always believe there's light at the end of the tunnel, and keep pressing on. And don't take for granted the privileges and opportunities that are around you, no matter how little, how tiny those opportunities are. Appreciate them, acknowledge them, thank God for them, and then take advantage of those opportunities, because a lot of people don't have them.
Amen, my brother. No, I appreciate it. And I appreciate your service, and I appreciate you inspiring everybody with the book Underground. How can people get in touch with you and pick up a copy of the book?
Yes, it's everywhere. It's online. Just go online, tap Deji, Ayoade Underground, and you will see it's at Barnes & Nobles, Amazon, and anywhere you can pick up online. But also you can get on my website, which is dejiayoade.com. And it's like a one-stop shop for everything, my podcasts and articles and awesome. Everything is there on there.
Well, we'll link in the show notes as well. And I look forward to having you back on, because I know where there's one book, there's probably many more. Deji Ayoade, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be right back.
Thank you.